Hi, I read Batman Gothic, which was written by Grant Morrison, and the illustrations were by Klaus Janson. And the story starts out very intense. Right from the first page, you see a man getting tortured by the mob, which is not really what you would expect opening the comic, but it goes on for a few pages, and it just keeps showing a bunch of scenes of the mob doing horrible things to a bunch of people. And then it immediately flips into one of Batman's nightmares, which you can see they made it very obvious in the illustrations that it was a dream and not actually happening, with like the yellow pictures and the black background compared to like the more blue tinted pictures and the white background, which was really cool for the illustration part of it. And so Batman's just having these bad dreams about like how he was like raised and how he lost his father, and he has dreams that his father's alive again. And so Batman ends up just very shaken up about the whole thing. And as the story goes on, you start to see the mob and like their everyday life. You see, it's interesting because in most of the illustrations, the mob, like the characters are shown very like dull colors, like obviously Batman's all in like black and stuff. And then the mob is all very like bright purples and yellows, which is interesting. I don't know what to make of that, but makes them seem very like high up and untouchable. But then you start to see that bad things are happening to them. And on the next page, actually, one of the men in the mob is killed by who they start to think is a man named Mr. Whisker, which is interesting because the mob, well, the man who theorized that it was Mr. Whisker got made fun of by everyone because he was presumably dead. But that wasn't the case, and so they had to summon Batman, which Batman was not too excited about because the mob does horrible things, and why would he want to stop a random guy from killing them? Especially since the man who's presumably killing them is dead. But let me get to that page, and you see the giant bat signal in the sky, and it leads to a very dramatic scene where Batman's talking to them, and he says, "You and your kind have turned Gotham City into a hell. Now rot in it." Which practically means he's not going to help them at all. And it leaves this Mr. Whisker guy just to kill the mob. But soon we learn that Mr. Whisker isn't just killing the mob to kill the mob. One, he's getting the revenge from the mob trying to kill him, but then we find out why the mob tried to kill him. And it turns out we see another one of Batman's either dreams or memories show up. We find out that Mr. Whisper was one of Batman's teachers growing up. And this teacher was killing the kids, which you can see Batman even found his friend's head in the trash can, which the illustrations on this page make it very obvious that something bad is going to happen with all the dull gray colors. Down here you start to see some more like blues and stuff, and like he snaps back into reality, but it's a crazy thing you learn about Mr. Whisker. And as the story goes on, you almost see this character arc in Batman, because after reliving that memory, he's like, okay, I don't support the mob, but I'm going to fight Mr. Whisper for these things that he's done. Which leads to some very dramatic scenes. Batman ends up defeating him in the end, which is great for the story, but it really speaks to how I still think that one scene about halfway through the story where Batman practically tells the mob that they're on their own and he's not going to help them was a very powerful scene, because it really shows that, like, if you aren't going to be a helpful person, you aren't going to receive the help, even if it's like you're asking Batman, who could do it easily. Like, you aren't going to get what you deserve, but then, well, what you don't deserve. And then when Batman finally remembered all the things that Mr. Whisker has done, obviously that's what turned him into defeating him, which was very interesting. And it was a big shock when I got to that part, because you don't really expect the guy who's killing a bunch of mobsters, people that are killing other people, to have also killed a bunch of innocent children. And it is a very good ending when he is finally defeated, because he was an awful villain, if I'm being completely honest. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the story. It was very interesting. It had a lot of plot twists. The illustrations were very interesting. They were a little less intricate than some of the other comics, but they also had, like, meaning, which was very interesting. But yeah, all around, I thought it was a great book.